Good morning, this is Jessica from Windhaven Farms. It's Saturday morning, July 30th, and I thought I would give you a garden tour. We're starting here at my asparagus bed, and my new asparagus plants look really good. Not all of them survived, but the ones that did are looking great. So 3 more years on them to wait. And then in between, because weeds are a problem, I planted cucumbers, pickling cucumbers. And it's actually the morning to pick them. And I'm working on making 14-day sweet pickles. I like them maybe just a tad bigger than this. I like to where I don't have to cut them. I like them really little, nice and crispy. So that is my pickling cucumbers. Okay, here's the big garden, and we have our strawberries, and strawberries. And these are ever-bearing strawberries that we tried this year because it was too late to get a fall planting in of the June-bearing strawberries. And I am really happy with the success of these berries. I'm trying to pick every other day, and it's not the day to pick these, but man, I probably should get over here. I might bring the kids later and let them help me. So we have quite a few strawberries on there. And then this row was potatoes. It's got a lot of weeds in it right now, but we recently just planted our cabbage in this row. And so you can see these little tiny cabbages. Hopefully I didn't get too late starting them into the fall, but I really want to try a fall crop of cabbages since my spring crop was not too successful. And then down there, it looks like a giant bush, is sweet potatoes. So they look like they're doing great. They're monstrous, but we won't pull them until right before the first frost. So we won't know what they're doing under the ground. Okay, we moved down just a little bit, and the rest of this row is potatoes that are starting to kind of turn color and die back, so it won't be too long before we're pulling those out. Then we have a whole entire row of summer squash, zucchini, and that yellow summer squash that is used just like zucchini but not called zucchini. Then I have my row of flowers, zinnias. They look beautiful. I plan to pick more bouquets and I just haven't found time, but they are beautiful. And then next door to that, we have more sweet potatoes that didn't fit in the other row. We have some more flowers and sunflowers, which got way bigger than I expected. They were just supposed to be like picking sunflowers for bouquets, and they got really tall. Then we have our green beans. I have 2 plantings here, so this end is not producing yet, but that end down there is producing. And these are my Blue Lake, which I've always planted because my grandpa always planted them, and they've never really let us down, and they're great for canning. The next row was onions, and we still have some onions down there at the end to pull. It looks like the yellow variety are ready. The red variety is not quite ready. It's still growing. But here we planted peas, and then I planted some herbs on the side of it because I need more herbs. Then we have our massive amount of carrots. So many carrots, and you can see our weird spring caused some of them to go to seed despite it only being their first year. Those are really pretty. But yeah, lots of carrots. This was our pea row, and we planted carrots to the sides of it, and just took right over. Now we have this patch that looks like a giant mess, and it kind of is. But here we have pumpkins, and I didn't get my labels very good, but I'm pretty sure these are my canning pumpkins, or my freezing pumpkins. So they're little. You can see they're already turning orange. There's some more in there. But these will be the ones to make pumpkin pies and pumpkin breads. And this is just one plant. In this area, all along here, is all one plant. It is really spread out. Here I planted some sweet corn. I was going to try the Three Sisters with the sweet corn with pole beans climbing it, and then the melons at the bottom. And I lost my pole bean seed package when it was time to plant them. And I found it since then, but it's kind of late, so I have my sweet corn. However, the coons have gotten to almost all of it, and I kind of expected that. It was just a growing experiment. Also in here I have butternut squash and spaghetti squash, and it's just a nightmare to get in there right now. There's just stuff growing everywhere. And then this was my colorful painted corn, and the coons got to that too. So if I'm going to plant corn over here, we're going to have to take some measures to keep coons out. Thankfully, my husband grows our sweet corn in prison with electric fences and keeps the coons out of that over there. So we will still get some sweet corn for us to eat as a family. And I see a weed right there I really need to pull. Then here we have our watermelon. And so there's my son's garden real quick. He has tomatoes and marigolds in there. If I can work my way in here, we have several types of watermelon. So there's one. I think that might be the variety that turns orange when it's ready. We thought that would be fun to try because it's hard to tell when watermelon are ready. I'm trying to work my way in here because these two look great. You can see those watermelon. There they are. Now I'm standing on the other side of that big patch, and I have more pickling cucumbers right here. You need a lot of cucumber plants when you're going to pick them so little in order to pickle them. This is our harvest this morning. The zucchini are slowing down right now. My old plants are kind of taking a break, and my new plants are just getting going. So we'll have more zucchini, but that's what I got this morning. And I'm happy with the cucumbers I got, so I can get another batch of 14-day sweet pickles soaking. Now I'm back over at our house and the area that we garden around here. I'm standing in front of my chicken coop, and we have been so happy with these birds. We got them last October, and they've just done so well. We love the eggs that they produce. We haven't had any picking on each other, and we're just really happy. Because of that, when we got a broody hen, we hunted around and found some fertilized eggs, and she's sitting on them. And Wednesday, that's in 4 days, I think, yeah, 4 days, will be 21 days. So I'll show you her. Have you done laying your egg? I came to see sunrise. Can we see sunrise? Yeah, you got your egg in there. Yeah, you go on out. Okay, here is sunrise. This is our sitting hen. She's been doing a great job. She sat for 2 weeks before we even got the fertilized eggs, and here she is almost 3 more weeks. So this mom is doing a good job, and we are excited and hopeful that we're going to have some babies soon. I think she'll be a good mama hen. Ooh. Those toads can startle you, make you think they're snakes, and they're just toads in the grass. Here's my parsley and my basil that has started blooming. Well, is really blooming. I obviously cannot keep up with my basil. Then we have some chives and some weeds in here. And then I planted some lettuces in here with all the weeds. And then down here I pulled out our bunching onions, and we have sage and rosemary and thyme and more weeds. And I should get these before they go to seed. I'm not doing too bad with weeds this year, but some still get ahead of me. Now we're at my basically ignored and forgotten bed. It hasn't been weeded or taken care of in quite a little while. But I wanted to show you these onions because these were planted at the same time as the onions over at our other place. But these were not watered like those were. And their bulbs are tiny. And they're not ready to pull. But when they are not going to be very big or even probably worth using. They're going to be so little. So I just wanted to show the importance of water, because this bed has no irrigation system and it's kind of out of the way for the rest of the garden so it doesn't get hit by our overhead irrigation, and it definitely shows up. Here is the cabbage I planted this spring that I'd pretty much given up on. Wasn't doing anything, but as you can see there are heads of cabbage on there. I think the worms have gotten the better of it, but I will probably still harvest it and see if I can rescue enough to try homemade renses, which was my goal in planting these to begin with. I have planted more cabbage for this fall, so hopefully we'll get a better harvest from that. Down here is my red curly leaf kale, and I really like this kale, but it wasn't long into the summer that it got riddled with aphids, and it actually looks like that problem is resolved. That's one thing with not spraying, is that the predators will take care of it. I'm not seeing a single aphid on this plant right now, which is amazing. So I should come through and harvest some of this kale. I really didn't want to sell any sort of plant that had aphids on it. I could wash them off, but you're just not going to get them all. And now, man, there's not a single aphid on there. So that's great, but it has gotten a little overgrown. So behind me is our strawberry bed over here. We'd started this last year, but I filled it in with the Albion Everbearing that we had extras of. And these I have not pulled runners off. And there's definitely a difference in size and a difference in quantity that it's producing. So pulling runners off really makes stronger plants. And then behind me you'll see my flower bed, and I attempted to plant stuff that will attract pollinators this year, and it's overgrown. It's crazy, but it's fun to see all the blooms and see the pollinators loving it. This was my broccoli and cauliflower bed, and when we pulled those out I planted in some starts of some lettuce, and it's looking like it's about ready to pick, which is great. We haven't had lettuce in a little while. And then I planted some spinach from seed. So we have that. And this is my Minnesota midget melon, and I am working to get it to trellis up. And it's doing it, but it's kind of heavy at the bottom. You see little melons, bigger melons, and then I have one more plant of these that has really big melons on them. We'll get to it. Oh, I see one in there. Still not as big as the other ones. See that one. So this was garlic. This was our garlic bed, and I have some cilantro for making salsa. I have some dill. I didn't have much seed of that left, and a lot of dandelions somehow got in this bed. These are slicing cucumbers, and I have had such a hard time getting my slicing cucumbers to grow. I don't know if it's because they know I don't like them, so they don't want to grow for me, but I thought I would grow some just to offer at the stand. I think eventually we'll have some, but way later than I expected. Over here also slicing cucumbers. They had a really hard time because my celery grew so well in here that it really had blocked the light, and I did go ahead and pull the celery in there so that it would have more light. And then I have, these are the onions that I started from seed myself. The other ones I bought as sets and starts, but these I started as seed, and I am quite happy with how they look like they're doing. Looks like these are ready to come out when I get time. Okay, the Minnesota midget melon that I was talking about, this is like a cantaloupe, but it's small. That one's really funny shaped. probably the way it grew, but let me show you these over here. So here they are. They're just about right size for one person. So we're excited to try those. I see quite a few more in here. You can see those have a problem with them growing in the fence on the other side there. And they're kind of growing funny shaped. But this is a bed of carrots that I'm working on pulling out. Then I have my sunflowers that I tried to line the fence line with, but they just didn't get enough water to do what most times sunflowers do. I also intended them to be food for my chickens. Here are raspberries. And they're loaded with raspberries right now. So we always get a fall crop from these, from the new canes. And that is our favorite crop and our best crop. And I tried a spring crop this year and it just didn't do what we wanted it to do. So we'll probably stick to a fall crop by just cutting all the canes down every winter and letting them start again. Okay, we're out at our apple tree now. And the apples are looking good. They're growing, getting bigger. Now we're at our peach tree. And in about 6 weeks or so, we should be getting peaches. They got a little ways to grow still, but there's a lot of them on that tree. Okay, now we're in my big garden here at the home place. And these are tomatoes that I just threw in because my other ones had gotten hit by herbicide drift. So I threw these in and I haven't tied them up or anything at all, and they're growing really well. I probably won't get out here to do anything. Thankfully, I have this weed barrier down. So if they grow in the ground like this, I'll still be able to harvest the tomatoes and it'll be okay. And then these are my green beans. These are Kalima beans, and it was a new variety for me, and they produced earlier, and so far I'm really happy with their variety. I enjoy eating them. These are my lima beans. They're blooming, but not yet producing. There's my snow peas that provided so much delicious food, but I haven't got to pulling them out, and the crabgrass is taking over. Over here we have our peppers with some tomatoes thrown in there where the peppers had died. And then because I have these pallets in here to weight down the weed barrier this spring when it was so windy, the weeds have taken advantage of those pallets and grown like crazy. So one of these days I'm going to head out and move the pallets to pull all those weeds. They're not rooted in much, just in whatever's blown in and gotten stuck in the pallets because of the weed barrier on the bottom. So they won't be hard to pull. I just need to get to it soon before they go to seed. So there's my peppers. And then my tomatoes. Once again, I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board next year. I'm figuring out how to grow my tomatoes well. I tried this weave method with the string. I think I didn't give myself quite enough room in the rows. You can walk in that one, but this row here, you can't even walk in it. So it makes picking them really annoying. Definitely not a fun job to pick tomatoes. There's not a lot ripening yet. There's a lot of tomatoes on there, but I'm only getting a few every day. And then my Sun Gold cherry tomatoes, doing pretty good. When they start ripening, I will have so many of them. But right now I've only got, I think, 2 plants that are ripening. And lots more that aren't. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to harvest tomatoes. Here's what I got for my Sun Gold cherry tomatoes. Then I got a few black cherry. I'm going to save for my husband here who wants to eat them. But that was my harvest for the Sun Gold cherry tomatoes.